Welcome everyone to the 19th Keshe Health Teaching Workshop. This workshop is called The Stomach as the Fireplace. And today, once again, we'll be speaking with Mr.Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and we'll hear first from Dr. E.Kostova of the Spaceship Institute, and she will describe to us the anatomy of the stomach and how it relates to this concept of being the fireplace. And as we know, the stomach is known in history as the solar plexus, meaning the sun in the center, sometimes called the center of gravity. And there's images of burning and combustion in this stomach. So these are all mysteries that we'll investigate today. Okay, I'm your host, Rick Crammond, and let's see if we can hear from Dr. E.Kostova, and we'll begin the workshop. Elia, are you ready there? Hello, Elia, I'm not hearing you yet. Hello?
Hello, Elia.
Can you hear me?
Oh. Yes, I hear you now.
Okay, so I will repeat myself then. Hello, everybody. It's me, Elia, and nice to be with you in the 19th Keshe Foundation Health Workshop. Today's subject is stomach, like a fireplace in our body. So we start with the first slide. And the first slide, every one of you just familiar with it. It's its representation. I keep repeating that slide just because we analyze different organs inside of abdomen cavity. And that is the abdomen cavity, again, representation for you, and the star formations, what we have inside. And actually, the stomach is one part of the star formation between the liver, stomach, and the end part of the large intestines, spleen, output system, and the pancreas. And that formation is placed inside of the largest one, how you see on the right side of the slide. And exactly the meaning of that formation is to convert all of state of matter to the Gans state, and then Gans state to convert again to the matter state and put out the matter state out of our body. Today I will give you some kind of different point of view about the digestive system, because mostly in the previous workshop we spoke about anatomy and function of different part of the layers inside of the organs, chemical structure, and so on. So today I will give you more different kind of point of view, how we are able to analyze the digestive system. And we start with stomach, like the main point, like a subject for today for our workshop. So we follow with the next slide, please. And the next slide is the embryology of stomach. In embryo, stomach starts from the foregut, where you see on the place is written esophagus and stomach. The gut is the part of endoderm. On the right side, you see again layering of the embryo in duration of the development of the embryo. So all the digestive system, like esophagus, stomach, and intestines, they origin from the endoderm of our embryo. And how you see on the right side, we have representation of layering like endoderm, mesoderm, ectoderm. And just to remember you, because it's important for today's explanation, that ectoderm is outer layer of our embryo. From the origin, our skin, this is our outer part, our shielding system. Then we have a mesoderm, which is our transitional matter regarding KF technology. And endoderm, this is inner core, inner layer of our embryo. On the right side, you see like microscopic scan pictures. They're completely visible and explain to you how actually all the layering from the beginning, like in plate, they start to make invaginations. And regarding that invaginations, finally we get the shape of embryo. Just keep in mind that picture, because during explanation you will see what is important of it. Exactly, we origin our body, we are build our body during embryology from one layer, and then we become with 2 layers and 3 layers, and then 3 layers starts to move and to squeeze between each other and to make different kind of shapes. And actually stomach, the subject from today, its origin from the endoderm, and how you see from the picture of embryo, it is exactly facing the liver. And from the previous workshop, you know that the liver actually is facing the thalamus, and from the beginning of development, all of them, their place in embryo is behind the thalamus. So actually all of them, they are so close connected with emotional part of the brain. It is our thalamus. Just they convert different kind of matter, and with that conversion they actually different point of and different feeding system for our thalamus. Just to remember you that our digestive system actually convert all different state of matter. We are able to accept through our mouth like fluids, gas, liquid, and solid state. So because of that, our digestive system, even in traditional Chinese medicine, they call Daon Dantian. What is the meaning of the brain below? So we go to the next slide. The next slide is this representation like a cross section of the beginning of our development in embryo state. It is a representation how different part in embryo from where origin our digestive system, from the beginning even they starts to repositioning itself. Our digestive system is covered from peritoneum. We have a visceral part and parietal part of the peritoneum. Peritoneum is some kind of connective tissue, which actually, if we speak regarding the KF technology, make shielding like a skin around the all internal organs. So that visceral peritoneum from beginning would actually connect each other, all the visceral organs, starts to reposition itself regarding the center of the embryo. And actually the center of the embryo where cause all the spinning around, this is the spinal cord or the spine, beginning of the formation of the spine in embryo, and the main artery in our body, aorta. So if we point them like a center, and around the center, everything from the beginning starts to spin. If you remember from the previous workshop when we spoke about the kidney, so then positioning was from the head to the cauda part of the spine. But here, when we spoke about the stomach, we have different kind of positioning. The stomach comes from foregut from one point and then starts to grow. And during this growing, he took different kind of positions regarding the center of embryo. He actually is not moving up and down. He moves in cycle. And I think this is understandable also because the stomach, like a part of the star formation, what is in the middle of our abdomen, and if you remember, we spoke that the BZ point of that star formation is spinning right to left. So even from the beginning of embryology, the main part of that star formation, stomach, it's rotating around the center, again up to right to left, again around the center of the embryo. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Next slide is a representation of stomach regarding the nano-coated tube foregut, and that foregut is actually part of the gut, and the gut is separate for the fore, mid, and high gut, and the stomach is part of the foregut, and in the middle of the slide you see how it starts to grow from inner part to outer part. So it means here we have the same layering of the gut, just change the volume inside of that nano-coated tube, what here in Latin language we call the gut. Then when the stomach change the shape, starts to change positions and starts to turn, rotate to the left in 90 degree. And during our development, actually, from one narrow tube starts to be more wide and wide, and to spin, and finally to took the position what is normal for adult age. How you see on the right side, the coloring of bijou is the gut and stomach, and the tissue what is around, this is the what I told you, the connective tissue around all visceral organs, what we call the visceral peritoneum. And actually, you know that the connective tissue is more rich regarding gift technology of the CO2 gases, and you know that the carbon, this is one of elements that make connection between the elements. So even now in our body you see that the connective tissue is this main tissue that make connection and movements in our body. Okay, then we go to the next slide, and next slide is actually short video how the stomach grow and rotate during embryology, and how we see is this rotation is it's again right to left, the same rotation how is the BZ facing vector inside of that star formation. So again we have a repetitive model even in development of the single organ inside of that star formation. So it's growing on is like a mass, like a volume, like a mesh, and then starts to change a position. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Actually, we all the time when we speak about our embryology, we keep in mind that this is a representation of the principal matter, transitional matter, and the outer core of the reactor. This is regarding the Kiev technology. And when we take the bigger picture of our body, this is again the same. We have inner part of us, this is our principal matter, then we get the transitional matter, muscles, and everything what is behind the skin, and then we get a skin, like a layering system, like a whole of our body. So from the beginning, our shielding, even when we represent ourselves only like a cell, this is the ectoderm. This is our skin. So all the time we just grow, we change our position inside of one balloon, inside of one membrane, what we call our skin, which is again nano layering structure itself. If we look at our body without any host, anything, just some subject which is modified inside of one membrane like a balloon, will behave the similar picture like on the right side of that slide, just face without any host. And then the nature starts to organize that membrane in different enters, because actually the energy what we took from outside inside, this is the plasma itself, this is the Gans state of matter itself. And that state of matter interact with our Magrav state, but they are not mixed, they are just move and interact with each other. For example, when you take breathe and you breathe inside, the amount of gas what you take inside is not mixture with your bones and your muscles just merge to each other. No, like a two plasmas, how you saw in the previous workshop, and you saw the video of interaction of two eggs. In the same way, they interact to each other. So if you accept your body like one Magrav state, and all the energy fields what you take from outside inside, they interact in same manner. So regarding that, if your body is covered fully with skin, then you have to make a holes to take the matter inside of you. So you start to just cut the places of your parts of your body where you're supposed to accept the energy or to take out that energy from you. And from today, because we speak about the digestive system, we make some kind of interaction of that skin and put the skin inside of the place where we're supposed to take all the state of matter. This is somehow invagination of that part of our face, what we call mouth. And actually, if you look at your lips, they are like transitional point between the skin and the mucus in your mouth cavity. Actually, you have again ectoderm skin. This is the outer shielding. Then you have transitional state, your lips, because they contain not only the soft skin upper them, but also many things inside. This is like transitional matter. And then you go to the mucus state inside of your mouth. And then with that part of your face, you're able to accept all the different kind of matter. And actually how Mr.Keshe said, when you accept the piece of matter, even when you accept it on the same moment, the thalamus is already informed what kind of matter you accept in you, because all the information inside of your body just is spread in the Gans state. And regarding that, I want to compare different kind of theories what we have available up to the moment, and new discovering from the different scientists around the world, and just to compare that all the theories speak about the same things, and they just cover and explain more deeply how we are able to visualize, how we really accept the matter inside of us. So the next video is really good representation of Mr. Declorescence, how our body, if you when you listen the video, just put in mind how our body is building inside of one shielding, in one balloon. This is the principal membrane, our skin, and we transform ourselves inside. And then that membrane is supposed to open, the enter, and to accept different kind of plasma inside. And this is the interaction between two plasmas. Just could you please pay attention for the next video?
Hello. I'm going to explain you in a very short way how dimensions are created and how holons are created. In my opinion, the totality of the system, the background of our universe, is a membrane. You can see it like this foil, a food foil. Now this food foil vibrates. In my opinion, this is a spherical structure, like a balloon, and the surface moves like this. Now, we can have, for example, two different peaks here. Peaks made by the membrane. And so, these move and go up and down. And one of the possibilities is that this membrane peak penetrates the other membrane peak. And this is essential, a very simple concept, but very essential in how holons, topological holons, are created. So, imagine that this is such a peak. So it goes up and down, up and down. And there is a second one, a large one, who goes also up and down. Now, you can see this like what you see here. We have two peaks, a peak here and a peak there. But since the membrane is non-breakable, it cannot be broken, these can have contacts. These can have surface contacts like this, and this one jumps and provokes that the other jumps in another way. But there is another possibility. There is a possibility that when the exact corner, the angle, is respected, this one, the smaller one, will penetrate the other one. But since the membrane is non-breakable, it only can push away the other one, like this, push away. Now, when the correct conditions are available, now this will penetrate and push more and more and will enter in the system. And then this one will also push away the second one, because we have two different surfaces in one peak. Now imagine that this happens. We will have this causes that the second one goes like a second layer, a cover around him, and then he meets the third one and you have this one. So here now you have three different layers, peaks over each other. And of course, when this moves, you see that also the second one will move, who penetrated. And when the penetrator moves, it will also cause a motion in the other one. So now we have a dynamic system, how space and three dimensions are created by a two-dimensional surface, which is the foil, which is the membrane.
Okay, I think we see the holon idea there.
Yes, and actually this is the same thing when you accept inside of you a different state of matter, because you interact with other one matter, what that matter just put in you your fields. This is not merging of different kind of matter. This is interaction between them. So actually of representation of Mr. Lorescence, this is the same like you have your skin and you have in the embryology state the first layering around the egg, even in the cell state, then all the development is inside of that shielding. And then that shielding starts to evaginate itself in and make different kind of layering. So regarding that, we get different layering in us, and because of that, we are able actually to transform different state of matter. And because of that, we have in different part of our bodies, in different functional system where we're supposed to transfer the matter state to the Gans state, different layering. And how much we go down from our mouth to our anus in that gift picture, Rick, the gift picture is visible only in the slideshow. If you put on the slideshow, will represent you the layering from the top to the bottom of our body. This is the model of the Holland theory of the Rick Dirk Laurens, but this is completely great because even in that gift picture, you are able to see how our digestive system is made, because this is the layering after and after and after. To be visible, you're supposed to put in slideshow, Rick. To put representation in slideshow, and then the gift format is visible. Do you understand? No, just slideshow. Yeah, this is just some option in the PowerPoint on the bottom right. You see where you have the size of the pictures. They have one sign from the slideshow. And when you play, it is visible for everyone.
May I say?
Okay, I will, no, just I will give you the website. See on the group, I give you the website, and there you just find out the picture and put on the live stream.
Okay, thank you.
No, because with that gift picture is really so visible to understand how our digestive system it's made layer by layers, and important for representation is that how many layer you have, that much mass you gain. Is mean you increase the gravity in the principal matter. What is important for representation after that? Actually, when you gain the layers in us from the mouth to the stomach, we gain mass and we gain gravity. And because of that, we are able to transform the solid matter to the to the Gans state. Because how you know, the similar Magritte strength accept and attract the similar Magritte strength, how Mr.Keshe said. So from that picture, how you see, if you accept the beginning of the sphere like a mouth, then it's your esophagus, then you go deep inside, this is your stomach, and then all the layering to the bottom, this is your intestines. And you all the time add more layers and layers. Even if you look the digestive system in anatomy, like macro view, you see how the intestines, they are exactly goes like the picture, what is showing you like layers, and finish with the large intestines with ampulla of rectum. What is the shape of the end of that picture? And actually, you gain the mass all the time if you accept the middle of the drawing inside of the pictures. This is how you actually gain the mass in you in strength manner. Because you accept some kind of state of matter, then you convert that state of matter. And because of that, if you accept that picture like representation of your digestive system, it is more understandable for you to understand why exactly the digestive system, the place of digestive system is inside of abdomen area, and it is not on the place of thoracic area. And actually, I will probably on the next workshop will show you the picture on the embryo that first cavity what is formed in the embryo, this is the pelvic cavity actually. And how you see off of that picture of Mr. Decolorescence that you see that the gaining of mass finish in the pelvic cavity, which is actually part of the end of our digestive system. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation of your digestive system. We start from mouth, then esophagus, stomach, and then all the intestines, small and large, with different kind of function. Just to repeat to you, actually from mouth, we inform our thalamus what kind of matter we accept, and because of that information through our tongue, because in tongue we have all the receptors to recognize what kind of matter we accept, thalamus starts to give the information to the digestive system what supposed to do. And then start all the transforming of the matter state inside of the stomach. Why we call the stomach like a fireplace? Because from the beginning, we put inside of our foods different kind of foods, like a state of matter. And then these foods, like a state of matter, they start to interact with our matter and to producing them different kind of shapes, different kind of movements and pressure in them. And because of that, we get all the movements, all the peristaltic wave, what we have in our digestive system. So the first one, peristaltic wave, starts from our esophagus, what is the muscle organ itself, again with layering, with the mucosa, muscle part, endothelium part. But the first movement inside of the digestive system starts in esophagus. And because of that movement, make the gradient before and after the matter what we take in us. So we first shaving the matter state what we took inside of our mouth, then we swallow, we initiate the movement, and then from that initiation of movement starts the peristaltic wave inside of esophagus. That peristaltic wave inside of esophagus causes the difference between the pressure before and after the what we swallowing in us, and then they inform the stomach what is come to pass in. And because of that information, stomach knows what kind of enzyme supposed to produce and how much and when and with which one part. Because different part of stomach have different kind of glands in between the epithelium cells, and they produce different kind of hormones and enzymes. This is not only chloric acid active part inside of the stomach juice. And how you see on the right side of that picture, to the end of the digestive system, everything is on the movement of spinning. So the stomach positioning itself even from embryo state with spinning or rotation, and then during the adult stage of our development, we continuing to use the spinning like a movement of our digestive system. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation of the beginning. This is the mouth, and you see on the middle of your face, this is like a cross section. This is your tongue. The tongue is completely muscle organ. Then you have the glottis and start the pharynx. From there, when we swallow, we inform the next part that we do something. We need movement just to move that part of matter down. And then there, this is the part where start all the peristaltic waves. And you see, we generate different pressure inside of this pumping mechanism. This is the graphic, like oscillations and different kind of pressure what is generated inside of the muscles. This is regarding when that state of matter will reach the stomach. So from the beginning, one part is under contraction, next is it's in relaxation state, and then vice versa. They follow each other. So itself, I repeat myself so many times, but we're completely sustainable machine and so intelligent. And you see on the right side of the slide, this is the representation of the stomach. He is mostly built from muscles with different directions. They are smooth muscles. They are not under control of your brain. I mean, like conscious control. They have unconscious control. And because of that, how we spoke, they belongs to the under control of emotional part of the brain. They have different directions, and these different directions just support different kind of contraction of the stomach. Stomach is like a mesh, and because of contraction of that muscle, make different kind of movement. And this support mechanical destruction of the solid state of matter. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation how regarding that peristaltic wave state of matter after the mechanical destruction move through the next part of the digestive system, and how you see everything is synchronized. Each part knows what to do and then follow the next one and the next one. And on the right side, you see this is the microscopic view of the peristaltic wave inside of the stomach wall. It is like some kind of mountain. And then it's relaxation, and then again. And also, the beginning enters of the stomach have the sphincter part. This is the circular muscles, and the end of the stomach also have the circular muscles in pyloric area. And when you accept the matter inside of your stomach, the sphincter part in esophagus area just relax, open, and the matter go inside. But in the same time, the sphincter part in the pyloric area just close tightly. And then you collect the matter state inside of that mesh and start not only mechanical but an chemical destruction of the matter state of matter. Then we go to the next slide. On the next slide is visible for you that again we have repetitive model of layering of the walls. So we have the epithelium, then we have the submucous place, then we have the muscle area with all the muscles with different directions, and then we have the serosa. This is the connective tissue skin, what is actually cover our stomach. This is the same repetitive model all over our body. If we speak regarding the Kiev technology again, so in the middle we have a liquid state, principal matter, then we have the inner core, then transitional part, and then outer core. This is repetitive model all over. And actually, if you remember what we spoke from the beginning, if we analyze our shielding skin like imagination inside of that hole, what we made from the beginning, our mouth, and then all that imagination just go to the bottom and starts to have more and more imaginations inside, we may accept the stomach like a first place where that imagination make a shape, rotate, and starts to do the transforming of the matter state with different actions like mechanical and like chemical reactions. Then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a so interesting experiment. Actually, the pictures, they are gift format again, if Rick is able to play. If not, I will show you. This is actually how to make the egg in opposite way, how to York to be outside. If you want, Rick, I'm able to find the website if you are not able to play them. Just to play during on the website if you want. This is no problem because it's really interesting how you're able out inner core to make outer core. This is the same way how you're able to accept one state of matter and then to divert to the inner state of matter, because actually everything exists in all state of matter. So we exist like a Gans state of matter, like a plasma state, like a liquid state, like a solid state on the same time. And actually that representation, yeah, I will give you if you want. Yeah, just
Thank
1 second. I will find it. And during that, I just will keep explaining. If you remember on the previous workshop when we spoke that other science, they are managed to make from the solid state of matter X to the liquid state. And now you see that it is completely ordinary person who took an idea how to cover the egg, how then to spinning the egg, then to boil the egg in the specific temperature for 50 minutes. And then when he took out all the shielding, he saw that the different state of matter inside of the egg just changed the places. What is completely interesting to see that when you spin some state of matter in specific conditions, you are able to change the positioning of inner part to become outer part and vice versa. And how from the beginning we say that if we accept ourselves like invagination of the membrane, so that membrane is able to gain the mass and then to ungain that mass. This is the same like Mr.Keshe said, when we gain a lot of gravity, then that gravity itself starts to initiate the magnetism repulsion. So it is really interesting, all these experiments with X. Even the beginning we saw the experiment of Mr.Keshe, what he showed to the knowledge seekers in SSI, like 2X, 2 plasma interact with each other. And because of that, for me, it was interesting to show you how actually even with X, we are able to represent how they are able, how the matter is able to change the state even in one shape. I'm just searching for that link, just 1 moment. if someone have more easy than me,
I was thinking, Elia, perhaps we could skip over that part and add it into the video later, to the final video.
yeah, it's okay. I'm ready. If you want to show just to be visible, it's no problem. Just idea was to show how even in one shape, even in one membrane, how it's a shielding of the egg, the matter change the places and states. That was my idea to show you with that experiment. Okay, if you want, we may go to the next slide or to show the videos. They are so short. They are GIF format pictures. Just that's it. Interesting is that everything is happened because of spinning and because of the correct conditions like temperature and pressure outside. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is actually what is the construction inside of the wall of stomach. How you saw, we have a layering again, we have a epithelium part, what is the most important part for chemical reactions inside of the lumen of stomach. That part is again with so many invaginations, and how you see on the right side, the microscopic picture is so similar to the construction of the brain, the hemispheres, the gray substance of the two hemispheres. That invagination of the epithelium of stomach, it is because to give more superface for interaction between the state of matter and different kind of chemicals that will produce. How I told you, we have different glands inside of epithelium. They produce not only enzymes but hormones, and actually the main structure, this is the stomach villa, and how Mr. Keshe said, if you remember, when he explained it about how the Gans state of matter starts to be a pair on the zinc and the copper plates inside of the CO2 kit, how starts to be like order of the magnets, like a balloons, like a particles one by one with gapping. In the same way, you see the mucous membrane, the epithelium inside of the stomach have the same repetitive model. So actually, if you accept the wall of the stomach like a plate, and in the middle you have water, here with the hydrochloric acid, so everything is happen on the surface of that two plates, that two wall of the stomach. And because you have different muscles with different directions, so you are able to squeeze that layering and to actually generate different conditions, and because of that to get different state of matter inside of that mesh, what we call stomach. So could you please play the next one video? This is actually how it look like our digestive system to stomach inside. So we take a food, and then food go in our mouth, and then we swallow and go through esophagus. And how you see, this is the peristaltic waves inside of the esophagus finally will reach the stomach. This is our stomach, like a mesh. The food go inside. And because we have different kind of receptors inside of the wall, the movement, the mechanical deconstruction of the solid state of matter started. And then we have a chemical reaction inside of the stomach with hydrochloric acid. And then all this stomach juice, now liquid, go to the duodenum. This is your bile in duodenum. And then the bile and the pancreatic juice, they're just following the digestion of now the liquid state of matter. And then you see just beginning of your intestines to the end. This is the epithelium of your small intestines. So actually you see that the stomach is like a mesh containing hydrochloric acid juice, and how the chemical process start in it. Just the stomach collecting that solid matter state of matter, what we eat, and initiate the process of transformation of that state of matter. Then we go to the next slide. The next slide is its representation how the chemical reaction start inside of the wall. How I told you, we have the acid pH level inside of the lumen of the stomach. It is because the chemical reaction between the carbonic acid and dissolving or organizing the carbonic acid to the carbon dioxide and water, or to the hydrogen and to the bicarbonates. If you remember, the same reaction we have in the lung area when we spoke of the function of the lung. And actually our stomach, when we spoke like a part of the star formation, this is on the role of the lungs. And you see, even the chemical reaction is completely similar. So inside of the lumen of the stomach goes the hydrogen, following with the potassium and the chlor. Inside of the lumen, we have the acid state. This is more or less 1 or 1.5. In the wall of the stomach, the pH keep alkaline. And everything is of equilibrium of these two chemical reactions. To hydrogen to connect with bicarbonates, or water connect with the carbon dioxide. Of that equilibrium of that chemical reaction, it is information from thalamus, from all peristaltic waves what you saw before that, how that chemical reaction will go to the right side or to the left side. This is the same like in lungs. Okay, but how you see from the beginning when we spoke that actually we have membrane and we are two-dimensional, but take inside different kind of matter, and when we interact with different state of matter, we start to convert the state of matter even from the beginning in different dimensions. If you compare that with the black hole, see what will be happen. Could you please play the next one slide, Rick?
Now, holograms are something we're all familiar with, from the security symbol you find on most credit cards. But the universe is a hologram? That's one of the most drastic revisions to our picture of space and reality ever proposed. And the evidence for it comes from some of the strangest realms of space. black holes.
This is a real disconnect, and it's very hard to get your head around. Modern ideas coming from black holes tell us that reality is two-dimensional, that the three-dimensional world, the full-bodied three-dimensional world, is a kind of image of a hologram on the boundary of the region of space.
This is a very strange thing. When I was a younger physicist, I would have thought any physicist who said that was absolutely crazy.
Here's a way to think about this. Imagine I took my wallet and threw it into a black hole. What would happen? We used to think that since nothing, not even light, can escape the immense gravity of a black hole, my wallet would be lost forever. But it now seems that may not be the whole story. Recently, scientists exploring the math describing black holes made a curious discovery. Even as my wallet disappears into the black hole, a copy of all the information it contains seems to get smeared out and stored on the surface of the black hole, in much the same way that information is stored in a computer. So, in the end, my wallet exists in two places. There's a three-dimensional version that's lost forever inside the black hole, and a two-dimensional version that remains on the surface as information.
The information content of all the stuff that fell into that black hole can be expressed entirely in terms of just the outside of the black hole. The idea then is that you can capture what's going on inside the black hole by referring only to the outside.
And in theory, I could use the information on the outside of the black hole to reconstruct my wallet. And here's the truly mind-blowing part. Space within a black hole plays by the same rules as space outside a black hole or anywhere else. So, if an object inside a black hole can be described by information on the black hole surface, then it might be that everything in the universe, from galaxies and stars to you and me, even space itself, is just a projection of information stored on some distant two-dimensional surface that surrounds us. In other words, what we experience as reality may be something like a hologram.
Okay, that video is played on the live stream. Should we continue with the next one, Elia?
Yeah, this is finished. Just because of that video, I want to explain you that everything what we take in us, actually, in our stomach, we may accept like a black hole, starts to dissolving and destruction the matter, to convert to the Gans state of matter, and actually all the information of everything what we took in us still exists. And because we gaining the mass, how you saw from the beginning of that presentation, we may take comparison between the stomach and the center of the black hole, because this is the part where we gain the mass, and because we gain the mass, we gain the gravity, and we know that the center of the black hole, we gaining the gravity, and everything what go inside just starts to transform, how Mr. Keshe said. Just we accept one state of matter, we transform that state of matter to the next one, like we accept the solid state of matter and transform that state to the Gans state, and actually all information exists. And then Gans state, we are able to reorganize to the matter state of matter, what actually we do with our digestive system. If all of you are familiar with the function of the black hole, you are able just to pass through the next slide, because it's representation how the black hole just suck the energy, how transform the energy, and what is actually going after that, and how even light you are not able to pass to the black hole because of borders, and this is exactly a representation of the model of Mr.Keshe. Even the pictures, they are the same, of the principal matter, of the borders, of the inner core, or of the outer core, how they transform, how from the beginning we have passing of the object from outer core, then pass through the transitional matter, then go inside of the inner core, and when go inside of the inner core, regarding the black holes, nothing is able to go back. But regarding the understanding of Mr.Keshe, everything which pass the border of inner core starts transformation and of the state of matter. It is not vanishing, it is just transformation. And how you see from the previous video, everything what is inside just spread the information for existence outside. And because of that, when you look even the experiment with X, you see how the outer shielding is able to become inner core and vice versa. Then you are able just to show the video, the second two slides. This is the video. This is exactly representation of our digestive system if you compare how the black hole is working. This is the second one what you play, Rick. And this is really
are among the simplest
long
objects in the universe.
Play.
They are simpler than stars, much simpler than planets, and vastly
this.
simpler than human beings.
Yeah, it is long.
Black holes are what is created when matter is compressed into a very small place.
We have time
they
just to
are
see.
General relativity's most extreme
If not,
prediction.
you may go to the second 20 seconds.
They are commonly created from the deaths of stars many times the size of our sun, usually forming from the collapsed core of a supergiant star.
It is really 5 minutes, but I think mostly people knows about the black holes, and they also have in representation,
where the
so
pull
they
of
are
gravity
able
is
to see
infinitely strong
afterwards.
and space-time infinitely
But
curved.
this is interesting.
At the singularity, space and time no longer exist as we know them.
Yeah.
So what would happen if we traveled into one?
Yeah, go to the next one. The next
To answer
one
this
is
question,
video.
let's look at a simple black hole. One with mass, but doesn't spin or have any electric charge.
So that is the endoscopic view of our digestive system. You start from esophagus, and if you compare with the previous video, this is the enters of the black hole, how the black hole suck the subject in it. This is the same. And because of that, you have the peristaltic waves. You suck the subject in it. This is your stomach, or the invagination of the epithelium inside, how you see. This is exactly looks like this. And this is the food what you take it in. And then you go to the next part, duodenum and intestines. But if you want, when after the workshop, just you play both videos together, and then you see this is the completely same function. You just, this is like a black hole, suck all the materials in them. They pass through the channels like a time-space, gaining the mass, and to reach finally the center of the black hole. This is the same, completely same explanation, visualization. Just compare two videos, and then you get idea actually what do you mean. Just to not make representation so long, you are able to compare itself. And how you see, we during this journey to all the nano-coated intestines, the matter just all the time transform itself, and finally you'll be start again to have from the gas to liquid, and then finally you will behave again the solid state of matter. This is the beginning of your large intestines. How you see the more different shape. What is important? See, the shape is more like a pyramid, and how you know the pyramid just protect the energy inside, keeping the energy inside of the construction of pyramid. And then you following to the rectal area. This is the end of the large intestines, and you will start to find out the solid state of matter. What is mean that yes, this is the solid state of matter was supposed to go out from you. It is actually what you take it in from your mouth. It is like a black hole. You organize inside of the black hole. All the informations go out. It is like a Gans state. That Gans states transform itself, go again and organize again in the solid matter, but in different shape, in combinations of the Gans inside. So with the last slide, I just want to represent you the drawings of the Mike Nassif. And this is exactly what you see during our journey inside of the digestive system. You see how from the beginning we're starting with the combination of the Gans state of matter and the state of matter like a solid matter, but how I told you, each state of matter exists in all state. Even the sugar exists like a gas state, like a plasma state, like a liquid state, and like a solid state in one time. So this is the combination of different materials, and how you see on the drawings of the mic, you may represent like combination of gases with different orientation between them. And he explained the things like how we form the Trinity and how we form the Twinity, with how we make the image mirror of the state of matter, and it's actually what is happened inside of our stomach, inside of our lungs, and inside of our kidney. When we produce our energy, hydrogen, we have a twinity between two atoms of the hydrogen. This is the same picture in the Gans state of the hydrogen. You are able to find out the plasma images of the hydrogen and how this twinity combine and form the trinity, and so on, to make one more solid combination state of matter. And how that combination state of matter, this is the vice versa. So you, from the more complex state of matter, you go to the twinity again, and from the twinity you again go to the more complex state of matter. So actually our stomach, our digestive system is like a black hole. It is transforming the matter state to the Gans state, and again the Gans state to the matter state. And that is my understanding for the digestive system. I will be happy to hear from Mr. Keshe the next one explanation. Thank you very much for attention. If you have questions, please ask me. Thank you.
Thank you, Elia.
Good morning, Elia. That's Mike.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you wanted to hear from Mike on that last drawing and equations there.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, that you are here. Thank you very much. And if you want to explain about your drawings, because they are really interesting and people to understand how the state of matter just transformed from twinity to more complex and vice versa.
All right. I tried to get here as soon as possible. Technology seems to be slowing us down. I don't have a picture. I'm just on Skype right now. I have an iPad, so I've got one picture at a time, guys. But I do have my drawings right in front of me.
The picture we have up, Mike, is the equations for balance, it's called. It's got your A and B diagrams there.
All right, I'm looking at it.
Okay.
All right. It really became very apparent to me that everything is done in infinity loops. When I drew up the last design for the Twinity that I believe that the workshop is putting together to possibly get a working model of, it really hit me when I looked at my Facebook page and I could sit back and see it where it was smaller, and I saw the two infinity loops there. And then I started thinking, all right, well, if you stack two infinity loops together, you get a hydrogen atom, but how do you bond it? Well, add another infinity loop to tie the first two loops together. It combines the two elements together, and how do you explain it? When you get the third loop in there, okay, the third infinity loop, it takes half of the power from one of the loops and half of the power from the other loops, and that's where you get the red and the blue. Okay, I wrote it down so that you understand that the blues is actually one loop, okay, or represented as one maggrav field that is twisted. The best way to explain it is to take a balloon, blow it up with air, pinch it in half, and twist it 180 degrees or halfway. And now you have, assuming it's in the middle, you have equal balance of air pressure within that balloon, okay? Well, we're trying to accomplish the equal pressure of the plasmatic pressure inside of these loops. So in order to create the balance that is needed to make a trinity, the third infinity loop has to accept half of the hydrogen atom on either side, amplifying it. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly, but that's the way I see it in my head. Anybody else have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's okay. It's more important here. Is it only to say that the spinning process. So what I keep repeating during the workshop, and how Mr. said that from the conditions to receive some kind of gas and to transform the matter, we're supposed to look after the pressure, to put suppose after the positioning, and regarding that positioning is spinning of the subject. So even inside of reorganization of different state of matter, we keep repeating the same model. And how you see from the beginning, when we start to speak about the stomach, even in embryology, we have spinning, rotating, and all a repetitive model, what Mr. Keshe explained before in different workshop, how we're supposed to analyze the Gans state of matter. So that's why I show you the drawings of Mike, how he, in so simple way, he is able to explain positioning of the different materials and how to achieve the next one level of matter, or to change that Gans to the different one, just because of positioning and adding in how to explain exactly. And adding the same guns is regarding the positioning to each other. That was my understanding when I add the drawings of the mic like a end of that representation. Thank you very much, Mike, to be here.
You're very welcome, and thank you for your help. Do you need me to explain how I came up with the
Yeah, probably for
flow of
Tuesday.
electrons?
Yeah, probably for Tuesday in the more technical workshop. For me, it's okay now. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, unless there's any other questions, maybe we should move on to have Mr. Keshe deliver his talk on the matter.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Elia. Can you go back on the picture where you were showing the acids and stomach lining, please? We need a little bit of clarification. No, it's just one of the slides was the picture of
19th, Rick, 19th slide.
Yeah, the one on the left-hand side. Is that hydrogen on the top with chlor and potassium?
Yes, sir. They go inside of the lumen of the stomach. This is the proton pump, they call this in medical language. So the hydrogen exchange with potassium with active pump, which use the energy ATP to ADP and release the organic phosphor. But actually potassium go inside of the lumen again, like through channels passively. And how yeah.
So the potassium goes between the, can you explain where the potassium is, on the lining or in the food?
No, potassium comes from wall of the stomach inside of the lumen to the food. And how we saw in the kidney, this is the same mechanism. Hydrogen ever following from potassium passively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. It's just that
Yeah.
we come back to
Thank
this
you,
later on. Thank you very much indeed, Elia. Dr. Elia.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to wherever you are. And hopefully we can add to the knowledge of the man a little bit more in a different way. First of all, before we go into the explanation of the way we see it from the spaceship program health side, there's an important announcement to make. We are proud to announce that the agreements for the Spaceship University was signed and sealed yesterday, and the Keshe Foundation, as of yesterday, has become part of the university structure of Italy. We will make more announcements in the coming days with the videos where you can apply for masters and for undergraduate degrees in the university. The videos and all the details where you have to apply will be released in the coming days by the Keshe Foundation University team. This allows us to teach a large number of people the whole structure of the health side in conjunction with the 30-bedroom hospital near Rome. That all facilities has been made available to the foundation for teaching of the health section, and at the same time health will be part of the teaching in the university. So we are called the name of the university and Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and the same the what we call the release of the agreements and everything else for public will be done in the coming days, both by the university and the Keshe Foundation simultaneously. And this has been a great achievement, and we thank the people who have been instrumental to reach this agreement. It's a legal binding and an official degree position as a master's and undergraduates in the structure of University of European EU nations. Going to the steps in respect to the stomach, as Dr. Elia was explaining earlier on, we go back to what we explained in the earlier discussions, and that is we look at the work of the stomach in the third core from the top of the body of the man as an instrument to produce and to release and to facilitate materials for a physical part of the body of the man. In fact, this is the job of the stomach. And as we said before, the instant, as we've seen in the video, the food enters the back of the throat, the entity, the material, enters a total vacuum condition in a gravitational magnetic field environment. In fact, is a magnetic tube which it's fully nano-layered lined, which means, in fact, everything in this tube from the beginning to the end, as we've seen in the video, is nano-coated through the structure of the material which is creating it. The whole process of the work of the stomach is to convert the matter state which has entered the body in a gravitational magnetic field environment of the core of the stomach, which itself is positioned into wall of the diaphragms as a core itself, to convert these materials to a plasmatic energy conversion system for the body to be able to absorb. As we explained before, the stomach is the reverse process of the work of the sun and the earth, where the energy from the sun arrives at the interface of the fields of the earth gravitational magnetic field. It is slowed down into nitrogen and helium majority in the different way of work, and then it divides into oxygen and hydrogen and carbon, and in that process gets absorbed by the plants in different form, and then when the man eats these materials and puts it in the stomach, the whole process starts to convert all these matters back to the rays of the sun the way they arrived on the surface of the upper atmosphere, into an energy level that can be absorbed or extracted by the rest of the system, which we call intestine. So the stomach is a reverse process of matter back into a plasma. How it's done is very elaborate. How it does its work, it is well designed over billions of years. There are adjustments to it, and as we've seen, it's a collection of different ganses in different strength, which make the physical structure of the stomach. If they are tightly packed, they perform as what we call the stomach itself, the wall of the stomach. And as we've seen from Dr. Elia, there are different layers of this Gans, which in fact in a later point, if we can come back to it, we explain why even you have these different layers from the plasmatic magnetic field point of view. And in fact, what happens is that once the material enters the stomach in a magnetic gravitational field in a vacuum condition, now the process starts in reversing. You have seen the work of the reversal of matter to Gans through your CO2 boxes. So what happens? In your CO2 boxes, you put the plate in a caustic, or you add electric charge to it in a very low level, and then what happened? The metal did not melt, but was loose enough that the material became a Gans. So, in the body of the man in the stomach, the same process should carry on. And then, when you take the plate out and you put it in the right condition environment of salt, you create a condition to convert the nanomaterials which you had on the plate into a Gans, which is a free energy. And then we have seen when we put the free energy into our cores, reactors, we rotate, we release its magnetic fields. And this is exactly what happens in your stomach. So what happens is that Dr. Elia showed us the working of the stomach, and I asked a single question, if she could explain about the potassium and chlor and the rest of it. Just look at the structure. You have potassium, you have oxygen, and you have hydrogen. You have the perfect caustic condition as you did by steaming in the bath. So what has been assumed that the acidity and enzymes create to digest, to dissolve the matter, in fact, all they do, they create a caustic condition to be able to nanosize all the materials in the stomach, what is arrived. So now you look at the structure in a different way. Dr. Elia explained to us the presence of the potassium. And then at the same time, in most of the food we eat, there is a certain amount of salt, which creates NaOH or KOH, which this condition allows the material to enter the body and now is in the gravitational magnetic field environment to become nanosized. So now the material stops becoming peeled off, exactly like your nanomaterials in the stomach, in your CO2 boxes. Now you have them nanosized. And then what you have at the same time, with the salt in the body of the stomach, from what you eat, you have now the second process present in the same first process. Now you have a sodium or condition of the sodium to convert the Ganses to release the nanomaterial into a Gans. So the presence of the potassium and O, water, with H2 and hydrogen is to create a condition of caustics, to create the nanomaterial. And then, in the presence of the salt in the stomach, the nanomaterials immediately are converted into a Gans. And if you look at the structure of what comes in the stomach after the job is done, it's exactly like the Gans materials you have at the bottom of your pots. So now we see the reality in a plasmatic condition and not what has been taught to us by the world of biology and medicine. Now what happens? Exactly in the process as you created the Gans, in that process, you have seen you could turn off a light or run a motor. The same energy is produced but in a plasmatic condition, which this energy is absorbed or extracted by the wall of the stomach, and according to different layers of the stomach, different ganses absorb different energy, and different energies in a plasmatic conditions, we speak energy, create different pulses and interaction and contractions, and this energy which is released in the production of the Gans is the energy which is used for contraction and the motion of the stomach itself. So the energy of for the motion and creation of nano layers comes from the change of the matter into a nano, and from nano into the Gans immediately, which is absorbed immediately by the stomach, by the wall of the stomach, because it's in plasmatic. And as each layer carries a different gravitational magnetic field strength, contracts or absorbs the energy and moves according with it and creates the motion of the stomach. But at the same time, those of you who have worked on the electric side of the creating nano layers, as the walls of the stomach themselves are nano coated because they're all made of gases and nano layers, they release part of this energy to nano-size the materials which are immediately in touch with them. So the creation of nano material, the creation of the Gans, is partially done by the KOH and by the salt, and partially is done by the surplus energy which is released by the food itself in transferring from matter to the Gans, which partly creates the energy for the motion and partially creates the non-layering energy which leads to the creation of nanomaterials which are in the stomach. So in reality, the process of the stomach, the work of the stomach is very, very simple, and there is no more to it. We can make a lot of elaborate discussions about it. A lot of things, does this layer, does that layer. All the structures, layers you see in the structure of stomach, it's all to create different gravitational magnetic fields, which the combination of these gravitational magnetic fields in the wall create different maggrav strength in the stomach that allows the nano layers to be created from different kind of materials which enter the stomach. It's very much the same as what you've seen as a channel of magnetic fields in the Gans materials, which you have what do you call it, done high definition pictures from it. We've seen the channels of flow of Gans, magnetic field flow. We saw it earlier on last year here in the lab, in the institute. So, in fact, all the stomach is a core, a magnetic core, which is surrounded by gases, and itself internally is gravitational magnetic field processed, and in its structure creates different conditions that it can allow very much different materials to be turned into a Gans. And these position of the holes and gaps and every structure of the fibers you see in the stomach is primarily for this purpose. It's very much is as you put a copper and copper plated nano, you get a copper, then you have a copper and zinc, you get a CO2, and you change a copper with something else, you get different material. These gaps and these gravitational magnetic fields which are created around the stomach by the wall of the stomach is to create a condition for the conversion of the matters into different gases that later on can be absorbed by the intestines into the body of the man. So the work of the stomach is not that complicated. It's a conversion unit, and part of this conversion creates heat because of its physical condition when it comes into touch physicality, and this heat is part of the structure of the body of the man, which in turn from conversion creates its own heating by coming in touch with the skin of the man. Because as you all have seen and doctors have explained to us, we have never seen any electric heaters anywhere around the body of the man. But the body holds 36, 37 degrees temperature constantly, because this is part of the conversion of the matter to Gans, and then Gans for it to change from plasma to Gans to become part of the energy or part of the physical part of the man. And this process actually starts in the stomach, and the whole production of the plasmatic magnetic field environment by the wall leading to creation of caustic and salt in the language you understand clearly, and creating different gravitational magnetic field of the different elements lead to creation of different ganses that, what they call it, become the juice of the stomach, that then it goes later on to intestine. But at the same time, this condition creates its own gravitational magnetic field pressure, which leads in forcing the food to be pushed into or be attracted and channeled through into intestine. And where the condition changes that one part of the body cannot perform, and the Gans state of matter changes from what it should be to another, we see all sorts of things like ulcers and the rest, which is when we do the diseases, we come to explaining how this is done. So stomach is to us a conversion unit, and we use this conversion unit a lot in the health application of the Keshe Foundation by use of the water. In fact, what we do, we instruct the stomach what to accept, and how to change its parameters, that what we need to be absorbed, to be opened up later on in the intestine. Therefore, I cannot go any deeper. To us is as simple as this, and we can go through a lot of elaborate pictures, but as you all have been well taught and understood, and nowadays you can buy the CO2 kits and you make it yourself. You see how not knowing, not understanding the whole totality has led man to make so many assumptions that it's acidity and the rest of it. But in fact, if you understood the production of the Gans and the nano layers, instantly that Dr. Elia put the picture up on the I asked the question about, immediately should have shown you you're dealing with a salt and a caustic condition, and this is a repeat of your balls of the CO2 kit. And in so many ways, now the knowledge becomes accessible by every man, because now you can create different gravitational magnetic field around your CO2, and you see how different matters are created in the boxes you have, and then it's exactly how you create food or energy, plasmatic condition out of the food. And if you want to understand and do this in more depth, follow the same procedure. In your, like copper, put different food in, and first create a caustic condition, and then what do you call it, the salt condition. You will see, you see the food will change into the gooey material, which we call it the digestion, what do you call it, material of the stomach. Your knowledge has been extended to that level that you can do these things and expand on the knowledge, and this is what we'll do in the institute now that we have established the university. scientists from the medical background, from gravitational background, from different background of the science will convert their knowledge into the Gans and the technology of the space. And then you understand how easily you can make different materials by converting gravitational magnetic field with the acidity and the, what do you call acid, and then we call it to us as a caustic condition because we've seen and how the process works. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
It's very short and sweet, but that's all is to the stomach.
Speaking of sweets, how would sweets affect the interaction of the walls of the stomach?
The sweets are more or less the hydrogen. The only thing you eat sweet sugar is for the use of the hydrogen, nothing else. It's the conversion of hydrogen, and if you understand the process of the Gans, most of the energy of the hydrogen in sugar bind is released at the stomach level, because immediately as it becomes Gans of itself, it becomes atomic hydrogen Gans, and immediately that's why you eat sweets after the food, because the bonding, the gravitational magnetic field is equal to what is already in the stomach.
So we're actually craving hydrogen?
In a way, Gans of a hydrogen in atomic structure, but you release this energy immediately. That's all you do.
So as humans, we tend to like this apparently because there's many drugs as well as many forms of sugar that would have the hydrogens that we seem to need or at least crave. Can you say something about that as far as how that relates?
Yeah, let me explain to you something very simple. When you take CH bond materials, the bond itself has two characteristics. Hydrogen, which is for rapid energy release, and then you have the carbon, which is the information current release in your body, which gives that information as I've received everything. That's why the minute you take sugar, not only you feel energetic, you feel good, because the carbon is a conductor and it's a transfer of information, part of the amino acid in energy. But don't forget something which is very important: the all structure of the body of the man in the stomach and the rest works as a superconductor condition, because everything in the Gans and the nano layer state, everything is separated by gravitational magnetic field. So the minute you receive the energy, or energy is released in separation of the hydrogen, whatever is going to be used for, the information, the carbon released, and that carbon release as an information carrier, as an energy carrier, receives the information by the brain that what you call the energy need has been satisfied. And that's why we like sweets, and we feel good when we take sugar or we take sweets, because energy and information simultaneously, one feeds to the brain for the emotional part, and one feeds the physicality as energy that it can do what it likes with it. And most of the energy of the sugar is more or less released in the stomach and not in the intestine. That's why it's got such a rapid effect. Something which a lot of chemists would not like, we were talking about it yesterday or the day before with Armin. There'll be no more chemists. So you look at the lines and double bind and single bond. In fact, the way we look at it from plasmatic condition is two spheres of energy, and how closely they are packed or separated from each other. And when you have like a CH bond, which is very weak, that hydrogen can be released, and that hydrogen is in the gravitational magnetic field environment. Immediately, a certain amount of its energy is released into the wall of the stomach, and then because of the carbon being in that position, since it's part of the amino acid structure, gravitational magnetic field strength, as a common denominator, then you feel a physical increase, and you feel the emotional increase that has been satisfied. And that's why we like sugar. And we go for it with chocolates or whatever else, because it satisfies both. The feeling of the energy received is okay, and I say no, energy received rapidly because it's in the lowest level of the hydrogen.
I have found recently that the overuse of such sugars has tended to congest my digestion and cause a lot of issues, so I've had to give up chocolate recently. Can you say something about that? Is it the intensity, or it's like too much energy all at once for the body to handle?
Most of the changes, as you speak about, comes not much to do with the digestion system. It's very much like a lung. As you get older, the formation and the shape and the pressure you put, or the way you sit, changes the gravitational magnetic field of the environment of the stomach. So certain things, fields which you used to receive, or you could use, are put it this way, it's like the plates have been moved, so the fields have changed. By a physical change, you change the environment of the, physically change the gravitational magnetic field, the strength of the stomach, and then you find out certain things are not like before. They don't get digested because the field internally has changed. The plates have been in your stomach, I should say.
So what I'd like to get to is this concept of the solar plexus, this sun in the center, the furnace or the fireplace, as the title of this workshop, and this concept of what's called the fire in the belly, which is sort of a term that humans use to indicate someone has sort of a spiritual strength, you might say, or they're really feeling life, and they're full of life. Youth often, but you can have an older person that shows that fire in the belly too. But most people seem to lose that fire in the belly, and I'm wondering if that's due to overuse of such things as sugar or certain foods or certain energies or impressions that we're taking in, and our thoughts and that kind of thing.
Most of the work of the stomach is physical. It has got not much to do with the emotional part. Even though we feel part of our emotional part in our stomach. But
okay, I guess that's the essence of the question there. What is the difference between that feeling part of the stomach and the anatomy and the transformations with food that we see and so on?
The feeling part comes because of two things. The large amount of blood which floats around this system. The blood is part of the emotional part of the man. So the reason for it comes because it's heavily, what do you call it? Heavy amount of blood flows around it. So emotional part doesn't come through the structure, it comes through the blood flow, which carries the emotion. And at the same time, your physicality has to adjust itself through its what we call aging or change of combination and the environment. It's very much partially the food, what we ask for to eat or we crave for has to do with partially our emotion, which is through the blood, and at the same time the environment's gravitational magnetic field. It's not that we have a stomach and everything is controlled and that's it, but the environment we live in creates its own external, like putting a nano-coated wire around your core. The environment decides what kind of material the stomach can digest and is comfortable with, because now it's not just the plates, now it's the magnetic field which you put the magnet around, we call it earth gravity. That's why we can eat certain food in certain part of the world, because somewhere else and we have no feeling for it. Because it's not just the plate has changed, but the layers are made of gans all your stomach. So environmental gans affects the condition and absorption and the feeling for what you call it, what acidity or what you call gravitational magnetic field in the stomach allows the digestion of or need for. When you speak about the working of the stomach, nothing more or less in the whole structure of the body of the man is affected as much as the stomach, and the environment decides what materials and what the condition and what thickness and what thinner and what holes in a way be positioned in the tissue of the stomach, in the fiber of it, to absorb certain products or certain materials. And that material, how it's going to be done is very much like I've seen with the people who put a copper winding around or nano layers, wires around their core. They change and they produce different materials. The same thing happens with you in life. The environmental gravitational magnetic field dictates the gravitational magnetic field in the stomach and what things can be absorbed and what things cannot be done. And it's the same with you when you get older or you change the condition. One of the biggest problems at the moment we see is with the people who get what they call, they put a ring in their stomach or they shrink their stomach. And we see the complications and the diabetics and the cancers and the rest which has come with this, with playing with this part of the body of the man. The stomach shrinkage is just because you eat less. You can create the same condition for as reduction of the stomach with no problem by using very much systems very similar to the pain pathways the Keshe Foundation has released recently. You create a condition that the environmental gravitational magnetic field inside the stomach does not see or demands energy, because it receives the energy from the outside environment of the lining, and it takes what it needs from it. We have done a test in about 2005, nearly 10 years ago, with nothing to do, a straightforward eating as normal. A lady of 185 kilogram to 130 kilogram in less than 6 months through just drinking water, which we control the energy and the gravitational magnetic fields, and she lived a normal life. So you change the environment of the stomach. I see this stomach shrinkage as one of the biggest major problems which is created. But if you can, like sugar, receive the energy you need in a way which the body does not need to do all sorts of things or reduce it, with the new technology which we release in the hospital, hopefully in Rome in the coming months, you can reduce the weight without anything to do with the body, damaging or intruding it. So what happens as you do it naturally, the skin stays intact, the body keeps its shape, more or less, and over time, over 6 months, 12 months, you lose the weight, and because you have lost the part of the process we developed, you do not put the weight back on. And you don't need any operation. This is part of the health part of the program which will be delivered by the foundation in the coming months in the hospital in Rome. Everything will be assessed by one of the leading institutes in health in Italy. They monitor all our programs. Agreements have been reached, have been told by the people who are doing the negotiations. But we have received the premises for the hospital. And we showed how easily you create an environment around the stomach or inside the stomach, and naturally the body receives what it needs from what you provide without need to eat. And you find people, they become very calm. The hunger to eat and the greed to eat just disappears. This is part of the process of the university we open up. There are those, I know a large number of people who listen to different programs, and we keep on repeating it from now on. If you're running different organizations of the health or what you call different kind of research, now that the Keshe Foundation has become an institute as a university, you can approach and sponsor research to be done on aspects of technology for the field you want to develop in your society. Be it weight reduction, we develop technology that you can have, but what you pay for will be shared with the rest of humanity. It's not exclusive. And we have seen this now with two government initiations, and that's in a way you come to an agreement with the Keshe Foundation to do research and develop a technology for weight reduction, a technology for eradication of the cancer. And now you deal with the university. As of yesterday, the Keshe Foundation, as an individual, as a Keshe Foundation, has come to a separate existence as a university. We show these researchers coming up in collaboration with different companies, pharmaceuticals, and the rest. We already have spoken to a number of pharmaceutical companies who want to look at the new dimension of the technology. The beauty with this kind of working through the stomach is there are no side effects. And the body takes what it needs and adjusts itself to what is needed to be done. And you can control the working of the body through the stomach, because you decide what gases are produced at what the strength that can be absorbed by the body the way it needs it. Any other question?
Yes, there was a question in the Skype here. Can you talk about the various uses for carbohydrates versus protein versus fats?
What you mean in that way? Look at the structure of everything in a Gans state. Carbohydrates, the rate of the flow, the rate of the conversion or release of the energy. Protein, because of the binding, releases energy in a different direction, in different environment. And that's all it is to it. It's all is not as you have very much in a chemical reaction to a carbon and hydrogen and a nitrogen and a oxygen. The totality of the energy makes the magnetic gravitational field of the amino acid. But when you bring it into the matter state as you get tested, you see a combination of the materials as a matter state. We are hoping to show this in a very short time. I was hoping to have some communication today that we could share in this program, but maybe it's not the right time for it. It will come in the coming days. You shouldn't put that on the table. You damage the wall. And stick it into a pin, into a flat. Sorry, I was explaining something to Armin. It's just doing something. Never leave it on the flat. Stick it up, that the layers stay intact, and you get a homogeneous current. So the process is how much then the body can absorb at what rate, and how much energy is released, and what body has that it can absorb it. We eat carbohydrate and sugar and whatever because of the simple chain and the small, what do you call it, the gravitational magnetic field of the entity to be near to the structure, that it can be absorbed to unity. They have it, so they release it and it's absorbed and it's transferred. With the protein, you have a larger plasma and a different field at the high level. So you have to grind on it to take its energy out. That's all it is. Larger process, longer process, more mass, essentially gravitational magnetic field mass, which you play with. You have to start rethinking from the chemistry. Maybe we have to make a plasma chemistry, or Keshe Foundation has to come up with a terminology for the behavior of the Gans in a chemical structure. We've seen this problem with the Italian nuclear center when they tested the material. We will release a large number of new measurement and detection systems through the Keshe Foundation in Italy in the coming months. We have a very active, and the manufacturing will be done in Europe and in China with Sohail, and here in Europe. It's not that we're going to set up the factory. The factory is already set up and scientists collaborate and work in partnership with the Keshe Foundation. This partnership has started some time ago, and now with the university, the Italian side, the Keshe Foundation and university come together in one go. And then we show how it works and how it's measured.
Okay, there was another question. Basically, it's about processed versus unprocessed foods, and I might throw in maybe organic versus non-organic foods. How that affects the stomach in the terms of the maggrav fields and the release of those fields?
To me, organic and non-organic, it's a very simple process. When you have organic, and what does organic means? They don't use chemicals, but they use fertilizers. And even the present fertilizers comes with the animals which are full of, what do you call it, antibiotics. Secondly, if you speak about any kind of natural fertilizers, they all carry a certain amount of, what do you call it, potassium. Or they carry a certain amount of materials which already are partially in the Gans state. So you absorb the energy directly in a different way. The plant does, and then it transfers to you. Most of the advantages with the organic, we feel better with it. If it's the real organic, the way it was supposed to be, or it is because it has a slightly higher value of the B12 and allows a faster division and a better division of the cells once it reaches the gland and the thymus. In respect to processed, non-processed food, is to do with the salt content at the moment. Strange enough is, as I said before, we were discussing it here, the trick of the trade has become, under cover of processed food, large contents of salt, sodium and chloride. And you've seen what sodium and chloride does in the body. as nanolayers on a caustic, and then you understand the condition which creates in the stomach in the absorption of the energy from the ganses. That's the only difference it does. You create a higher. If you want to understand what processed food is, in the processed food, it's a high level of salt. And if you want to know how affects the salt, change the salinity of the salt content in your CO2 reactors. Then you understand what processed food does in your stomach. They go put it on the preservative. But it's a huge one. If you buy a sausage from any of the supermarkets, the level of salt in it is so huge. And what does this do? It creates a certain condition in the body at a certain gravitational magnetic field level, which body has to work to that. And then you crave for it because you have to use that energy to be able to trigger the energy level you need. And that's what they do. If you look at the new, all the more or less 95% of the ice cream sold on the high street, just look inside. It's a beautiful trick they played. I've explained this before. They put salt as preservative, but in fact, by adding a small amount of salt, they enhance the little amount of sugar which they add into their material. So they save themselves a lot of money. Because on your tongue, you have a part which tastes the salt, and then immediately the part which tastes the sweet, and the gap is huge. Because if you just taste the sweet, the ice cream doesn't taste so nice, for example. But when they add the salt into it, it enhances it and it tastes so sweet because, in fact, you don't receive that much sugar. But they play with the trick of the energy released by each one on the tongue as an information carrier. So all the processed foods under the cover of preservative add salt. And the level of salt which enters the stomach triggers a certain condition for creation of Gans in the stomach, and certain ones in that process the Gans is created, as you've seen in your boxes, energy is released, and that energy touches the emotional part of the body, which is the blood which flows, and then you feel good, or you get addicted to certain food. They control your addiction, literally craving for certain food, through what they call preservatives. And that's a salt content. And salt enters the body, creates certain environment. As I said, they're like different areas. We crave for different food because the energy released at that level transfers to the emotional part of the body, and then you feel good with it. Or it releases certain amount of energy that the walls of the stomach work on, and then it's the less energy they need, for example, from the hydrogen. So you find a tuning system. Most of the processed food is like you call it in the electronic system, a tune a frequency. And what frequency, who can hear what? They tune to salt, gravitational magnetic field, the environment which creates in the stomach, and the energy which is released by the same protein which is added to it. Then you crave for the food, and then you get addicted to it. Any other question?
I wanted to ask regarding to the salt subject, how much salt really needs each day a normal body? I know in hospital when somebody is kept on infusion because he cannot be fed, he gets.
Look at what is the sodium?
An alkali metal.
What is sodium in the atomic mass?
Sodium 22.
Okay. Now, Dr. Elia showed you the potassium junction in the stomach. What is potassium?
39.
Now you can say good morning. The body plays the division of the sodium because you have to. Let me explain to you what potassium does in the lining and in the stomach. Potassium, under condition of the vacuum of the stomach or in the body of the man, because we have potassium gates, it behaves as potassium 40 radioactive, releases enough radiation to lead to centralization. That's why in the caustics I use, I always add, people who've been around me, they know I add deliberately potassium. Because a small fraction of potassium you add in carries a potassium 40 radioactive. Now, if you work around in a gravitational magnetic field of potassium and sodium, you see one is nearly half of the other, but at the same time in gravitational magnetic fields you talk about, then you see you do not necessarily need sodium as a salt. Because in certain given conditions, in the presence of the hydrogen, atomic mass weight by gravitational magnetic field of the potassium creates that condition of the potassium salt. We do not need sodium as such as we look for it. You have to look at the structure of the Gans, not chemical reaction. Then you understand it's very easy to, you have an environmental field reactor which is gravitational magnetic field based. We do not need sodium under no circumstances, even though we take it through the process. If you look at the structure of the nitrogen in the amino acid, nitrogen does the same thing as the potassium does. It's in there as a centralization system, as release of radiation on the soft X-ray to allow the release of the energy from the electron vibration in the body of the man, as you explain it. But in a way, in a plasmatic condition, potassium, spheric gravitational magnetic field, in exchange can be and is available to the, what do you call it, to be released in the presence of hydrogen as a plasma. You change the size of the plasma. Very much as you go from one metal to another, the energy release is in a way available for the hydrogen to be absorbed. There is no need, absolutely no need for salt. Even though the reason is because the body of the man through centuries has become used to a shortcut than using potassium.
Also, Mr.Keshe, I see that calcium is in part of the diagram that shows the interactions. So in a similar way that calcium might be in the tap water that some people would use in their CO2 kits, and the calcium might come out first before other interactions. I'm suspecting that might be similar inside the walls of the stomach, so the sodium would tend to offset the balance of the calcium, perhaps.
Yeah, but there is a structure you got to look at in the Gans state, the calcium and magnesium, what they create. They are usually associated with each other from gravitational magnetic field point of view. After we finish with the parts of the human body, then we go to the what we call the glands and the operation of the glands, and then we go into diseases. And then in that point, I'll explain how, for example, gravitational magnetic field of the calcium plays in the even potassium plays in the condition of the creation of the cells in the brain and the emotional part of the body, and how, for example, parathyroid glands uses the calcium in conjunction to the process with magnesium to create the feeling and the strength of the potassium.
Okay.
These are, we go into detail once we finish with the structure of the body of the man, then we go into detail into diseases and the emotional part, how emotional part affects this, what we call psychosomatic.
Okay, we definitely look forward to that. I'm
We'll
wondering
be
if
here
we
for a
should...
few years.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm amazed we're up to, this is number 19 of the health series, and I wasn't even aware there was 19 different areas of the body that we could even discuss, but we've sort of just touched the surface in many ways. So
You want to know about arms and legs? Then you'll be amazed. Those are the real part of the working of a man, even though we just see them as anything.
Oh, that's an interesting comment. We'll have to learn more about that later.
Let me explain the touch. The arm works as a physical and emotional part. If you don't like the touch, you don't touch it, but the physicality grabs it. So arms and legs are much more complicated, what I call pieces of the body, than even the stomach itself. Because in the body of the man, we showed just now that the food enters the body and then get digested. A lot of energy in the same kind of conversion is done by the touch, by the skin of the man. The skin of the man, the hand, is a kind of a stomach, because you absorb energy by touching it, exactly what you absorb energy by stomach and intestine. But it's outside the body, not inside.
I'm wondering if we should wrap up the workshop now. We're ready.
Do we do a next workshop for the Spanish?
The next one will be the Spanish in half an hour at
6 o'clock.
On the hour. Yes, 6 o'clock your time.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much indeed. See you later on.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe, and Dr. E.Kostova, and everyone else for helping out in the workshop.
Can I explain something before I forget? As you know, Keshe Foundation has released these pain pads this week, and they are available as of next day or two on the Keshe Foundation website, or you can directly order it, or if you want to be the distributor for them, through the Keshe Foundation in China, through Sohail. We put all the information for distribution and everything on the website in the coming days. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, and so ends the 19th Health Teaching Workshop. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Embryo. On the right side, you see like microscopic scan pictures. They're completely visible and explain to you how actually all the layering from the beginning, like in plate, they start to make invaginations. And regarding that invaginations, finally we get the shape of embryo. Just keep in mind that picture, because during explanation you will see what is important of it. Exactly, we origin our body, we are built our body during embryology. from one layer, and then we become with 2 layers and 3 layers, and then 3 layers starts to move and to squeeze between each other and to make different kind of shapes. And actually stomach, the subject from today, its origin from the endoderm, and how you see from the picture of embryo, it is exactly facing the liver. And from the previous workshop, you know that the liver actually is facing the thalamus, and from the beginning of development, all of them, their place in embryo is behind the thalamus. So actually all of them, they are so close connected with emotional part of the brain. It is our thalamus. Just they convert different kind of matter, and with that conversion, they actually different point of and different feeding system for our thalamus. Just to remember you that our digestive system actually convert all different state of matter. We are able to accept through our mouth like foods, gas, liquid and solid state. So because of that, our digestive system, even in traditional Chinese medicine, they call Daon Dantian. What is the meaning of the brain below? So we go to the next slide. The next slide is this representation like a cross section of the beginning of our development in embryo state. It is representation how different part in embryo from where origin our digestive system, from the beginning even they starts to repositioning itself. Our digestive system is covered from peritoneum. We have a visceral part and parietal part of the peritoneum. Peritoneum is some kind of connective tissue, which actually, if we speak regarding the Kiev technology, make shielding like a skin around the all internal organs. So that visceral peritoneum from beginning would actually connect each other, all the visceral organs, starts to reposition itself regarding the center of the embryo. And actually the center of the embryo where cause all the spinning around, this is the spinal cord or the spine, beginning of the formation of the spine in embryo, and the main artery in our body, aorta. So if we point them like a center, and around the center, everything from the beginning starts to spin. If you remember from the previous workshop when we spoke about the kidney, so then positioning was from the head to the cauda part of the spine. But here, when we spoke about the stomach, we have different kind of positioning. The stomach comes from foregut, from one point, and then starts to grow. And during this growing, he took different kind of positions regarding the center of embryo. He actually is not moving up and down. He moves in cycle. And I think this is understandable also because the stomach, like a part of the star formation, what is in the middle of our abdomen. And if you remember, we spoke that the BZ point of that star's formation is spinning right to left. So even from the beginning of embryology, the main part of that star formation, stomach, it's rotating around the center, again up to right to left, again around the center of the embryo. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Next slide is a representation of stomach regarding the nano-coated tube foregut. And that foregut is actually part of the gut, and the gut is separate for the fore, mid, and high gut, and the stomach is part of the foregut, and in the middle of the slide you see how it starts to grow from inner part to outer part. So it means here we have the same layering of the gut, just change the volume inside of that non-coated tube, what here in Latin language we call the gut. Then when the stomach change the shape, starts to change positions and starts to turn, rotate to the left in 90 degree. And during our development, actually, from one narrow tube starts to be more wide and wide, and to spin, and finally to took the position what is normal for adult age. How you see on the right side, the coloring of bijou is the gut and stomach, and the tissue what is around, this is the what I told you, the connective tissue around all visceral organs, what we call the visceral peritoneum. And actually, you know that the connective tissue is more rich regarding gift technology of the CO2 gases, and you know that the carbon, this is one of elements that make connection between the elements. So even now in our body you see that the connective tissue is this main tissue that make connection and movements in our body. Okay, then we go to the next slide, and next slide is actually short video how the stomach grow and rotate during embryology, and how we see is this rotation is it's again right to left, the same rotation how is the BZ facing vector inside of that star formation. So again we have a repetitive model even in development of the single organ inside of that star formation. So it's growing on is like a mass, like a volume, like a mesh, and then starts to change a position. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Actually, we all the time when we speak about our embryology, we keep in mind that this is a representation of the principal matter, transitional matter, and the outer core of the reactor. This is regarding the Kiev technology. And when we take the bigger picture of our body, this is again the same. We have inner part of us, this is our principal matter, then we get the transitional matter, muscles, and everything what is behind the skin, and then we get a skin, like a layering system, like a whole of our body. So from the beginning, our shielding, even when we represent ourselves only like a cell, this is the ectoderm, this is our skin. So all the time we just grow, we change our position inside of one balloon, inside of one membrane, what we call our skin, which is again nano layering structure itself. If we look at our body without any host, anything, just some subject what is modified inside of one membrane like a balloon, we'll have the similar picture like on the right side of that slide, just face without any host. And then the nature starts to organize that membrane in different enters, because actually the energy what we took from outside inside, this is the plasma itself, this is the Gans state of matter itself, and that state of matter interact with our Maglev state, but they are not mixed, they are just move and interact with each other. For example, when you take breathe, and you breathe inside, the amount of gas what you take inside is not mixture with your bones and you and your muscles just merge to each other. No, like a two plasmas, how you saw in the previous workshop, and you saw the video of interaction of two eggs. In the same way, they interact to each other. So if you accept,
it only can push away the other one, like this, push away. Now, when the correct conditions are available, now this will penetrate and push more and more and will enter in the system. And then this one will also push away the second one, because we have two different surfaces in one peak. Now imagine that this happens. We will have this causes that the second one goes like a second layer, a cover around him, and then he meets the third one and you have this one. So here now you have three different layers, peaks over each other. And of course, when this moves, you see that also the second one will move, who penetrated. And when the penetrated moves, it will also cause a motion in the other one. So now we have a dynamic system, how space and three dimensions are created by a two-dimensional surface, which is the foil, which is the membrane.
Okay, I think we see the hold-on idea there.
yes, and actually this is the same thing when you accept inside of you a different state of matter, because you interact with other one matter, what that matter just put in you your fields. This is not merging of different kind of matter. This is interaction between them. So actually of representation of Mr. Lorenz, this is the same like you have your skin and you have in the embryology state the first layering around the egg, even in the cell state, then all the development is inside of that shielding. And then that shielding starts to evaginate itself in and make different kind of layering. So regarding that, we get different layering in us, and because of that, we are able actually to transform different state of matter. And because of that, we have in different part of our bodies, in different functional system where we're supposed to transfer the matter state to the Gans state, different layering. And how much we go down from our mouth to our anus in that gift picture, Rick, the gift picture is visible only in the slideshow. If you put on the slideshow, will represent you the layering from the top to the bottom of our body. This is the model of the Holland theory of the Rick Dirk Laurens, but this is completely great because even in that gift picture, you are able to see how our digestive system is made. Because this is the layering after and after and after. To be visible, you're supposed to put in slideshow, Rick. To put representation in slideshow, and then the gift format is visible. Do you understand? No, just slideshow. Yeah, this is just some option in the PowerPoint on the bottom right. You see where you have the size of the pictures. They have one cyan from the slideshow. and when you play, it is visible for everyone.
May I say?
Okay, I will I will give you the website. See on the group, I give you the website, and there you just find out the picture and put on the live stream.
Okay, thank you.
No, because with that gift picture is really so visible to understand how our digestive system it's made layer by layers, and important for representation is that how many layer you have, that much mass you gain. Is mean you increase the gravity in the principal matter. What is important for representation after that? Actually, when you gain the layers in us from the mouth to the stomach.
Welcome everyone to the 19th Keshe Health Teaching Workshop. This workshop is called The Stomach as the Fireplace. And today, once again, we'll be speaking with Mr.Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and we'll hear first from Dr. E.Kostova of the Spaceship Institute, and she will describe to us the anatomy of the stomach and how it relates to this concept of being the fireplace. And as we know, the stomach is known in history as the solar plexus, meaning the sun in the center, sometimes called the center of gravity. And there's images of burning and combustion in this stomach. So these are all mysteries that we'll investigate today. Okay, I'm your host, Rick Crammond, and let's see if we can hear from Dr. E.Kostova, and we'll begin the workshop. Elia, are you ready there? Hello, Elia, I'm not hearing you yet. Hello?
Hello, Elia.
Can you hear me?
Oh. Yes, I hear you now.
Okay, so I will repeat myself then. Hello, everybody. It's me, Elia, and nice to be with you in the 19th Keshe Foundation Health Workshop. Today's subject is stomach, like a fireplace in our body. So we start with the first slide. And the first slide, every one of you just familiar with it. It's its representation. I keep repeating that slide just because we analyze different organs inside of abdomen cavity. And that is the abdomen cavity, again, representation for you, and the star formations, what we have inside. And actually the stomach is one part of the star formation between the liver, stomach, and end part of the large intestines, spleen, output system, and the pancreas. And that formation is placed inside of the largest one, how you see on the right side of the slide. And exactly the meaning of that formation is to convert all of state of matter to the Gans state, and then Gans state to convert again to the matter state and put out the matter state out of our body. Today I will give you some kind of different point of view about the digestive system, because mostly in the previous workshop we spoke about anatomy and function of different part of the layers inside of the organs, chemical structure, and so on. So today I will give you more different kind of point of view how we are able to analyze the digestive system, and we start with stomach like the main point, like a subject for today for our workshop. So we follow with the next slide, please. And the next slide is the embryology of stomach. In embryo, stomach starts from the foregut, where you see on the place is written esophagus and stomach. The gut is the part of endoderm. On the right side, you see again layering of the embryo in duration of the development of the embryo. So all the digestive system like esophagus, stomach, and intestines, they origin from the endoderm of our embryo. And how you see on the right side, we have representation of layering like endoderm, mesoderm, ectoderm. And just to remember you, because it's important for today's explanation, that ectoderm is outer layer of our embryo. From the origin, our skin, this is our outer part, our shielding system. Then we have a mesoderm, this is our transitional matter regarding KF technology. And endoderm, this is inner core, inner layer of our embryo. Your body like one Magritte state, and all the energy fields what you take from outside inside, they interact in same manner. So regarding that, if your body is covered fully with skin, then you have to make a holes to take the matter inside of you. So you start to just cut the places of your parts of your body where you're supposed to accept the energy or to take out that energy from you. And from today, because we speak about the digestive system, we make some kind of interaction of that skin and put the skin inside of the place where we're supposed to take all the state of matter. This is somehow invagination of that part of our face, what we call mouth. And actually, if you look at your lips, they are like transitional point between the skin and the mucus in your mouth cavity. Actually, you have again ectoderm skin. This is the outer shielding. Then you have transitional state, your lips, because they contain not only the soft skin upper them, but also many things inside. This is like transitional matter. And then you go to the mucus state inside of your mouth. And then with that part of your face, you are able to accept all the different kind of matter. And actually how Mr.Keshe said, when you accept the piece of matter, even when you accept it on the same moment, the thalamus is already informed what kind of matter you accept in you, because all the information inside of your body just is spread in the Gans state. And regarding that, I want to compare different kind of theories what we have available up to the moment, and new discovering from the different scientists around the world, and just to compare that all the theories speak about the same things, and they just cover and explain more deeply how we are able to visualize how we really accept the matter inside of us. So the next video is really good representation of Mr. Declorescence, how our body, if you when you listen the video, just put in mind how our body is building inside of one shielding, in one balloon. This is the principal membrane, our skin, and we transform ourselves inside. And then that membrane is supposed to open, the enter, and to accept different kind of plasma inside. And this is the interaction between two plasmas. Just could you please pay attention for the next video?
Hello. I'm going to explain you in a very short way how dimensions are created and how holons are created. In my opinion, the totality of the system, the background of our universe, is a membrane. You can see it like this foil, a food foil. Now this food foil vibrates. In my opinion, this is a spherical structure, like a balloon, and the surface moves like this. Now, we can have, for example, two different peaks here. Peaks made by the membrane. And so, these move and go up and down. And one of the possibilities is that this membrane peak penetrates the other membrane peak. And this is essential, a very simple concept, but very essential in how holons, topological holons, are created. So, imagine that this is such a peak. So it goes up and down, up and down. And there is a second one, a large one, who goes also up and down. Now, you can see this like what you see here. We have two peaks, a peak here and a peak there. But since the membrane is non-breakable, it cannot be broken, these can have contacts. These can have surface contacts like this, and this one jumps and provokes that the other jumps in another way. But there is another possibility. There is a possibility that when the exact corner, the angle, is respected, this one, the smaller one, will penetrate the other one. But since the membrane is non-breakable,